I've waited a long time to do this video because I wanted to make sure that when I did it, I was sharing my experience with a variety of different types of cutting boards instead of just showing you what boards we sell or what boards are out there, explain the specs and move on. So I've used all of these enough to be able to know what they're good for in the sense of what type of knife and what type of cutting technique. I have some wood, I have some synthetic. We don't sell all of these, but we sell some. We're gonna dive in. So, first thing I'm gonna do is break down the wood boards. These are my notes that you can see. Take a screenshot if you really care. Hopefully there's nothing too bad on here. First thing I want to break down is the Janka scale. This is specific to wood boards. So the Janka scale is the hardness rating of different types of wood. What they do is they take an itty bitty little steel ball, roughly 1/3 of an inch or 11 to 12 centimeters in diameter, and they press that into the wood with a measured amount of force. And that force is measured with lbf, pounds force or pounds of force. And what they do is they stop and they take the reading when half of that little ball is pressed into the wood. So the softer the wood, the lower the number. It's pretty simple. So that's this Janka scale rating. Keep that in mind because it's going to be important as we go through this. Actually, let's just go through some of the list. Look, I'm going to zoom in on this so you can just see my notes, which is kind of rare. I have woods that are best for Japanese and then best for hybrid style knives or Western German style knives. I don't have all of these, but you can see them. If you want to pause, I'll zoom in here in my editing so you can get a little bit of a close-up, and that's that. So instead of going through all these woods, I'm just going to share with you the ones that I actually have. Getting started with one that I've had for a very long time, and I'm going to keep a knife on the board because I don't want some weird focusing to happen, which is called focus breathing. Ooh, I just spit on my board. Focus breathing. And it happens when you just have like a blank piece of wood. You'll see it with the walnut. It like freaks out. So I'll try and prevent that with this little Miyabi Iki limited edition paring knife. This is actually not the official edition. This was the concept that was sent to me. This does not have the glass dipped handle, but everything else is the same. Pretty cool to have though. Okay, this right here is my booze block. Okay, you can see this thing has been beat. It's been through about 7 or 8 different moves. And this is made from maple, which is a higher Janka coming in at around 1450 pounds of force. Now, keep in mind the Janka rating. When you Google a wood, you're gonna see a range of Janka. Some will say this to that, here to here, here to there. I'm sure it's going to vary based off of how old the wood is, how old the tree is. I don't know if it matters between end grain and the edge grain. I was told no, but there could be some nuanced details into this. So don't take all of this as it's exactly that. It's kind of like Rockwell. There's a ±2 or so on some of these, and the same thing is going to go for any type of rating scale. Anyway, I've had this booze block for a really long time. I've beat it, and based on my experience, the booze block, they're heavy, awesome boards. A lot of them are two-sided. You can see that this side has some major divots in it, like really bad divots. It's because I was doing a cleaver video and I got a little too excited and I shouldn't have used this board. I can even feel pieces still coming off. I should probably just sand this and refinish it. Booze block for the price, you're looking at around 100 or so plus for a decent size board. This one has the handles, and the little divots here is just to catch your meat juice when you're slicing up some ribeye or some briskies. And there you have it. Great board. We don't sell Booze Block, but I have nothing bad against them whatsoever. I've used this for a very long time. I will say this. This, let's look at the difference here, is called an edge or a face grain. So it's linear wood going this way, whereas this is an end grain board. Here's the thing. This is black walnut. This is maple. If you got a maple board that was made with an end grain or a black walnut made with an edge grain, their Janka rating is the same. The difference is with a edge grain, you're cutting and essentially going against the fibers of the wood, which can dull the knife, it can hurt the wood, and once you break that graining, it's done and over with. You've already broken it. So you will see a lot more divots and things in the wood itself. Better for German, Western, more hybrid style under that 61 Rockwell type of knife. Now, the end grain, you're looking down at the fibers. So instead of cutting them in half like this and splitting them, you're separating them. And then as these get heated and then they dry, that separation can come back together. They're essentially self-healing in a roundabout way. So you could actually find yourself a higher Janka rated wood end grain cutting board that may be better for your knife than an edge grain, softer Janka cutting board. Whew, that was a lot. Okay, so Booze Block, again, we don't sell them. I've had it forever. I will say this, I had one of their walnuts that was a edge grain and it warped really bad on me. I never oiled it, and I always stored it up on an angle in my kitchen in the 2 or 3 places we lived when I had that. And it eventually got so bowed, it was bad. I did not take care of it properly. So I take full responsibility for that. Okay, next up here, I just showed you this a little bit. Let's see if my focus goes bonkers. Wow, it's not doing it. It must be picking up right here. That's cool. Anyway, I'm gonna put this beautiful knife down. This is a black walnut end grain cutting board. I do not know who makes this. This came to me, it was something in our warehouse. We used to carry it, we don't anymore. I believe it came from someone out of Pennsylvania, which is where I used to live. And so black walnut is coming in at 110. That 1,000 Janka mark is kind of the cutoff of where I try and recommend to stay under for Japanese knives. When you get, especially if it's end grain, it'll be even better. When you get higher than that, that's where I've personally experienced boards that will give me that little click, clank. I don't know how to make the sound where, if you do a little tiny pivot, those harder woods, they just hold on to that edge. And I'm talking finer, higher Rockwell knives. And you will hear that little like micro fracture, and it's ear piercing, even though it's not. There are some videos I've done using this board and this board where I've heard it, but since I switched to some other boards, I have not. So keep that in mind. This is just an example. Black walnut coming in at that 110 lbfs. Pounds of force. Beautiful board. I love this. It's very heavy, but it's great when you're doing a large prep session or if you're cutting up some brisket. So when I'm using a big brisket slicer knife like this global brisket knife, I have no problem using that on this board. However, what I would not use on this board is this hand-forged Awagami Super Enzo coming in at a 65 Rockwell. There is absolutely no way that I would use this blade on this board unless I was slicing or being super, super careful, because it would be fine. I don't want to dramatize this. If you're doing tap, push, and slicing, but I would not come in on an angle, and I would definitely not do any type of pivoting, which I wouldn't do with this blade anyway because of how hard of a Rockwell that is. But these softer steel, that's a 56 to 58 Rockwell. Good to go. Okay, I'm just gonna get this down over here. I'm probably gonna stub my toe on that. Next up, this is from a company that unfortunately went under. Cotton and Dust, made out of Texas. I could not find the specs anywhere about this board online because they're no longer in business, but in some of my earlier videos with Cutlery and more, I use this. From what I believe, we have black walnut and cherry. So we already talked about black walnut coming in at 110. Cherry is 995. So again, right around that 1,000 mark, which makes sense to pair these two woods together. Huge board, double-sided. This has the juice gutter, and then this is totally flat. Great board. Super heavy. I like to do charcuterie spreads and things like that on here, or again, when I'm making brisket. I just got a huge pork loin. Something like this, I'll slice on here, no problem. For everyday prep, it's just too big and bulky and hard to wash. So I save a board like this for just big prep sessions. I would use any knife that's under 60 to 61 Rockwell on this, no problem at all. A good board. I don't know why they went out of business, but they did, unfortunately. Again, I have experience with it. So based off of using an end grain cherry wood board with some Japanese knives that aren't super high, you're gonna be good to go. Here's the thing. Technically, you could get away with push and tap chopping and slicing with any board, as long as you aren't digging it into the board. It's the second you start doing any bit of a pivot with a high Rockwell Japanese knife that's where this fracturing can happen. Okay, next up, this is a white oak board. White oak is coming in at $13.50. I have only used this for slicing. That's it. In fact, you can probably still see the stains. Yes, this right here, this is all staining from, you guessed it, brisket. I like making brisket. But this is a great, just lightweight, thin, deep gutter of a board. And it's excellent for barbecue. Great for charcuterie as well. You can carry this with stuff on it without breaking your back. So if you could find yourself a white oak board that you're going to use for that, great. Would I use a Japanese knife on this? Absolutely not. No. Even for slicing, just in case, like, again, under that 60 to 61, you'll be all right. But especially because this is a edge grain, so it's like slicing the wood and it's going this way, or face grain, you will definitely feel it. And I felt it with this board because I made the mistake of doing that. Okay, I'm just gonna start popping these up back over here. Next up, this is my Shun Hinoki. Oh, hold on, I can't do this. I can't do that to Shun. Let's get a Shun on here. Okay, that's the Shun Shiranami, which is one of their dual core series that's exclusive to, oh, piece of hair. I'm leaving it in there. It happens, I've got a dog. This has one of the coolest handles ever. This is a burlap micarta, turquoise, greenish, blue, deep ocean. It changes depending on the lighting. It's just a really cool board, or knife. This is a cool board. This is a cool knife. Anyway, this Hinoki. Hinoki is a Japanese cypress tree, Hinoki, coming in at 500 to 600. Fantastic. What's great about this, even with a face, an edge here going linear, instead of an end grain like underneath here. This is super soft. It's super lightweight. Even the ones out there that are real thick, it's just a light wood. I would compare it to, it's probably lighter than pine. I would say it's much lighter than pine actually. And it's been, as you can see, an everyday driver for me. I use this for most of my prep downstairs, or one of the other ones I'm about to show you. It's just a great board. You can see these bigger divots in it because it's so much softer. This is where, if you like to rock chop with a Japanese knife that's under SG2, under that 63 Rockwell, this is where you can get a nice rock chop. Here's a Meiji Kramer. You can get a nice rock chop, no fracturing. Here's their carbon. Nope, not happening. This is an SG2 coming in at 63. Totally fine. Now let's get something a little bit thinner behind the edge, like the Enzo SG2. This is the 9.4 inch or 9.5 inch. No problems. Would I do this on that? No. Would I do it on any of the other ones I showed you? Probably not. But on a Hinoki board, you're good to go. Made by Shun. And there's a bunch of other brands out there that do it, but that's it. Okay. If you've watched any of my recent videos, you have seen this Canadian Larch wood cutting board quite a bit. I'm going to be totally honest with you. This, as of August 22nd, 2025, this is my favorite wood board to prep with. This is my favorite wood board to do a real quick prep with. But if I know that I'm going to be prepping more than a few things and I've got 20 or 30 minutes in front of me, I don't mind getting out the heavier board and washing it. Also, the size of this compared to the other two I showed you, it's much more friendly for our, we don't have the normal size double sink. The one side's a bit bigger and it's straight down. It's like a porcelain, it's not stainless steel. This fits in it and it's okay to wash. Anyway, so this is Larch wood, which is coming in between $830 and $1,000. The Larch I've read as low as Hinoki in the $500 to $600s. This is end grain on top of it, so it's going to be self-healing and it is going to be easier on your blade. I have rock chopped, same thing. Let's get a, here's a Yoshikane SKD. So this is a 62 to 63 Rockwell. Oh, sorry, my ball, I just, in my monitor, caught my big old ball down. Oh man, I cut myself real bad the other day shaving. Whew. Anyway, I would be totally fine with doing a slow, easy rock on some green onion, chives, nothing really hard, no hard pivots, and shallow. I'm only coming up off the board a little bit. Totally fine with this board and the Hinoki. Now this Larch also has these little rubber footies. Now for this board itself, if you wanted to use it as double-sided, go for it. You just got these in the way, but you can still use the back or use the front until it wears out and then flip these around. Like, it's totally good. And this is coming out of Canada. These are not cheap. I don't know how long we're going to carry these because of the price importing them here. And then the shipping cost of these is wild. So if you're looking to get a Larch and you don't mind spending the money, I can tell you right now, this will be a forever board. I really enjoy it. I should probably put these down. Okay. Excellent board. Next up, we're getting into 3 different types of synthetic boards. And then I'm going to show you a couple accessories and we'll wrap up. The first is going to be the Hasegawa Pro PE. So this is basically the same board. I've used this one for months. This one I've only used once in a recent video. It's a little bit bigger. You can probably see there's a little bit of a difference in the color and texture of these. You can see that the smaller one it almost looks like it has like a matte type of finish, where this is a little bit glossier. And the reason why, oh man, I left it downstairs. Okay, if I could get through one video without leaving something downstairs. I'm gonna gaslight you. No, you weren't prepared. Okay, so why they look a little bit different. This one almost feels felty, just a little felty. I don't know how to explain it. This is the Hasegawa board scraper. There's two sides. You got the rough side and you've got the smoothing side. That's just a wet mark. You basically sand it down when it starts to get funky. And I wanted to give it a try, so I did. And then I wanted to see how the knife would perform on it. Makes no difference. It just cleans the board and kind of levels out the divots. This is polyethylene, so it's plastic. If you're afraid of microplastics, don't get it. Get a wood one. What's cool about these? I would put these in the same hardness ballpark of the Hinoki / Larch. They're great. You can do a rock chop on these without damaging your board. And if you're doing it properly, you can do it without damaging or overly dulling your blade. I've never heard that fracture with a higher Rockwell. I still don't do the rock chop with any, like SG2 stainless steel, good to go. That 62, 63 Rockwell with a carbon blade or higher Rockwell, I don't like to do the rock chop with. I do a shallow push instead, but you can with these without damaging the board is what's important about these. So there's a couple different sizes. You can see like this one, all these divots. Hopefully that's showing up on camera. There we go. You can see, wow, that's making some wonky looking psychedelic type of stuff on my monitor. Anyway, you can see that. And then this, the side, oop, it's doing that thing. That's called focus breathing. There we go. So it's a little bit more smoothed out. You can see a couple of those divots. I must have came in on an angle there a little bit harder. I don't really remember those. Maybe that grinding kind of leveled that out. Anyway, Hasegawa, these have a polyethylene outer shell with a composite wood inner shell, making them ridiculously light. Per size, the two of these feel like the Hinoki. Super lightweight, easy to clean. You got your Hasegawa scraper if you want to get that. You probably don't absolutely need it. You'd be fine without ever doing it, but the option is there. Okay, speaking of Hasegawa, and then, oh gosh, I meant to look up exactly how to pronounce this. A-S-A-H-I. Asahi? I think it's Asahi. Ashi? I mean no disrespect. I just do not know. I think it's Asahi. Asahi. Okay. Let me know in the comments how to pronounce this. That would be great. Should have looked that up. My bad. Okay. What do we have here? This is a synthetic rubber board, and this is the Hasegawa Pro SOFT. I would put these in a similar category, even though this is synthetic rubber and this is plastic. It's just a super, super, super soft plastic. Here's the thing. Every board that I showed you, you can tap, chop, push chop, rock chop, slice, slide product around. It's everyday, all-purpose prep type of chopping and all that. The difference is what type of knife or Rockwell rating, hardness rating, Janka, what type of knife Rockwell you should be, what type of Rockwell knife, wow, what type, I'm leaving it in. You get it. So, all-purpose, all prep, the ranges, are you using the Wusthof on the cherry, the black walnut, the white oak, or are you using any one of these super high Rockwell Japanese knives for the Hinoki or the Hasegawa, or maybe the Larch? These boards are sticky. I'm going to show you what I mean. They are sticky. This is a Asahi Strix, which is like the upgrade to SG2, evidently. When you go in on a push, it stops your knife. Here's the regular. See how it stops? It's so soft. It's just grabbing onto the blade. It's the same thing with the rubber. I'd say that this is actually grippier than the rubber. So because of that, it is absolutely fantastic for any type of raw protein, fish, chicken, beef, you name it, fantastic. Maybe some cooked proteins that you need to stabilize because you're cutting really thin, like a terrine of sorts, would be great for these. When it comes to tap and push chopping, if you're just prepping something where you just need to do a couple little, sure, but these, in my experience and based off of some of the research I've done, these are meant for slicing, specifically whole slicing, not like, well, if you go into the product like this and you're pulling back, it'd be fine, but even that push type of slice that you can do, which is essentially an exaggerated push chop, it just grips. So when you're pulling back, and what's also great is you can use a high Rockwell knife and you can come in on an angle with these, like for sushi, and it's not going to damage the blade, and it stabilizes your blade. Once you get where you're going, it doesn't slip any which direction, and it holds the product that you are prepping, slicing, or finishing on these. So there you have it. There are the boards that I've used in my experience. A couple quick accessories. I showed you the Hasegawa finisher here. Oh, one more thing. The NSF white commercial cutting boards, I've got several downstairs. Soft steel blades. That's it, a soft steel blade. Tap and push chop on that medium 60 to 61 Rockwell, some slicing, if that's what you have to use at work and you have to use it. Okay, but I would compare that closer to maple plus in the sense of the hardness, even though there's not a Janka rating for plastics, it's just what it's like. I'm sure there is some type of rating, but not from a commercial perspective or a consumer perspective, rather. So they're super dense or hard. They aren't forgiving. A fine Rockwell, fine Japanese knife with a high Rockwell on an angle is not going to go well. Don't use them for higher Rockwell knives. It's that simple. I said it. They're cheap. They're mass produced. Not that all of these can't be mass produced, but they're not good for fine knives. Okay, back to accessories. I showed you this. This is the Hasegawa no slip. It looks like those things you start your Lego base on, and they are grippy. These they can slip. It depends. Oh, is that the side that I redid? Yes, it is. Oh, look at that. So that's the side I redid, and it's grippier. Huh, interesting, than the other. So that's pretty loosey-goosey. Put that down here. It ain't going nowhere. It's great. You can use this, put a bowl on, making your mayo or some whipped cream. Great, and there's two different sizes, so you can either stack like this if you have a really big board. And look, they're sticky, man. Super sticky. So, you know, I washed these maybe 2 hours ago and they still got water specks on them. They're sticky. They clean very easily. I've noticed that using cold water to rinse them off is better, but they will grip onto everything. Fantastic. Next up, these silicone sponges, they're terrible for cleaning cutting boards. These regular sponges, I don't use anymore. I have this for scrubbing terrible things first, just in case. They get stinky and smelly, not a big fan, but they do froth up your soap pretty well. I just can't stand the smell of a sponge when it needs to be thrown away. And then whatever, you're spending more money. I don't like them. Not a fan. What I am a huge fan of is this. This is not for anything other than Lodge cast iron pans. I got this at the Lodge factory in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. Got it for my cast iron, and then one day started scrubbing my board with it and was like, wow, this really froths up nicely and it's easy to just keep it even pressure and clean a big surface area. Then I started using them on my knives and it doesn't scratch the knives whatsoever. I love this. I use Dawn dish soap, degreaser. It froths up nicely, antibacterial. I cook with raw proteins on my wood boards all the time. I've never gotten sick, never had food poisoning, and that's been debunked. Anyway, this is like $8 on Amazon. It's fantastic. Aside from that, the only thing or two things that I would recommend if you get a wood board is get yourself some of this. I don't care. I think we have some stuff on the site. We might. If you want to get it from us, great. Or keep it cheap. Go on Amazon and get yourself some butcher block conditioner. I personally use this on this board. That's it. The mineral oil, this is a food grade. It's got a nice little orange scent to it, or you can get unscented, just get a food grade mineral oil. This is what I use to lather up my octagonal and wooden handles, my wah handles, and anything else that's wood. It's also what I use on all of my wooden cutting boards. I don't know, once a month, every 6 to 8 weeks in that ballpark, and just lather them up, let it sit overnight, and then give them a light wash with a little bit of soap to get the excess oil off of your board, and that way it's not all over your fingers and your food and you get slippy dippy all over while you're prepping. Okay, that's it. These are the 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because they're the same thing. 9 boards that I've used, my experience with them. And I'm going to put this down once more, my little notes sheet, and I'm going to zoom in on it. So if you would like to take a screenshot of that. Oh, notice this, trap bacteria. Maybe I'll do another video on that. That's a whole other conversation. I want to wrap this up. There you have it. I'm Chef Brandon with CutleryMore.com. Any of the boards that we offer at the site, which would basically be the Hasegawa, the Asahi, I feel so bad that I don't know how to say that, and the Larch board and the Shun. So 1, 2, 3, 4 brands, and there's a couple different ones we do have at CutleryMore.com. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.